wgsn-db-going-solo-network welcomes you to the Relationship Recovery Show with your host, Shan-White, divorce recovery coach, who helps people create the life they see when they close their eyes and dream. Let's listen in as we hear about techniques, tools, and strategies to recover and heal from a relationship due to breakup, divorce, or even death. Here's Shan now.
Welcome. This is Shan-White, host of Relationship Recovery. You are listening to wgsn-db-going-solo. We're so happy to have you tonight. And I am especially excited because I have a colleague and friend that is going to be our guest tonight. And you are going to reap so much from this. So let me introduce you. We're going to be talking to Will Parrish tonight. He is first and foremost daddy to his little girls, his 3 daughters that have taken on a celebrity of their own. And most days revolve around their activities and happiness. Will believes that his life is given value transcendentally through his faith and the investments he makes in others. To that end, Will's satisfaction comes primarily from helping other people. His main role beyond husband and daddy is to help his client family achieve their goals and their dreams. He is often heard saying, if I die tomorrow, I won't wish I had more money, a better car, a bigger house, or the largest firm. I will want more time with my little girls. Will lives this philosophy out daily and without fail. So Will specializes, you guys, in divorce financial planning and has personally witnessed many people go through the traumatic life changes of divorce. So several years ago, or actually several years of experience taught Will strategies that can help reduce the financial trauma caused by the divorce process. And this led him to intensive study with the Institute for Divorce Financial Analysts to become what I know as a CDFA. For you folks, it stands for Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. So Will and his team can confidently help others navigate their financial future and make more informed decisions when facing divorce. Will, welcome. We're so happy you're here.
Thanks, Shan. It's a great honor and a pleasure. I appreciate you inviting me to join you.
So listen, tonight I understand that you are going to share with us the 10 maxims of divorce and how you stayed sane during a truly insane time. And so I know that your and my passion is to be able to pass on our life experience over and above our professional experience, and we want to share that too, so that hopefully we can save others from maybe going through some of the things that we have gone through, or at least increase that learning curve exponentially. So you know what? Well, let's just jump into it. What's the first maxim?
Absolutely. So, several years of being a financial planner and having clients going through divorce, I never imagined that I myself would go through a divorce. You know, no one plans on, when they get married, plans on being divorced. And so the number one maxim, the first one for me is, it's different when it's you. And I learned over all of these years, it was so easy for me to dole out all of this advice. This is what you should do, and this is how it should go, and you should do this, and all these you should haves. But when it became my divorce, none of that helped. So when we add in the emotion of it's your marriage that's on the ropes, it is completely different. And so we add in emotion, and we come up with the first maxim, which is, it's different when it's you.
I love it. And I am so sorry that you went through it, but you know what? I can already hear the good that came out of it, that you now have that capacity to relate on a totally different level. So what's number 2, Will?
Well, now we're getting down to some brass tacks. Let's be a little more pragmatic. Almost 100% of the time in a divorce, the marital home is fought for. And maxim number 2 is a home is not an asset. And most of the time, it's the female spouse, it's the future ex-wife that feels that the marital home is a security, when in fact it's a liability. If it's paid, even if it's paid for, we have insurance, upkeep, property taxes. It may be too much house for a newly divorced spouse. And so maxim number 2 is don't consider the marital home an asset. And many times, from a money standpoint, you may be better off letting the home go and trade for some other assets.
You know, that's really a good point, and it reminds me, Will, as you know, our audience is all about going solo, and a lot of times it's divorce, but perhaps it's long-time live-ins as well that have maybe bought a home together. So really, a lot of these maxims can apply to others besides just divorce. Do you agree with that?
Yes, ma'am, of course. In fact, my firm, we have an educational program. It's titled, I've Lost My Spouse, Now What? And the assumption is I've lost my spouse to death, but we include divorce, disability, and emotional checkout in those losses. And so if you have a long-time partner that you share a home with, if we're talking simply about the money, the math side of things, and not the emotional side, almost every time you're better off to let that home go and hang on to cash liquidity.
Excellent point. All right, so what's number 3?
Well, that last statement leads us right into it. Maxim number 3 is you can't eat your home. Just let that sink in for a moment. There's an old school thought in America that I've got to pay off my house. So this is even for folks that aren't even anywhere near divorce. Does it make sense to pay off my home? Well, in the world of divorce, think about it like this. If you're a divorcing spouse and now you're going to be on your own, meaning you don't have your ex-spouse's income to rely on, yes, maybe you have the security of your home, but if you run short on cash or need money, what do you have to do with that home to turn it into money? You have to either sell it or get a new loan against it. And so I want to encourage folks that are facing divorce or doing long-term financial planning of any sort to remember, you can't eat your home. It is an illiquid asset.
I love that. That's a great metaphor for most folks. And oftentimes, not an asset, but a liability, right?
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
Such good stuff. All right. So let's move on to number 4. This is so great. Will, thank you.
Thanks very much. And so it shocks me, Shan, and I don't know how many divorces I've been involved with, but it shocks me how lightly folks take attorney choice. And maxim number 4 is attorney choice is everything. In fact, in my written article on the 10 maxims, the word everything is capitalized. And so I want to really encourage folks that if they are facing divorce, that their choice of attorney is everything. It's very important to choose an attorney that specializes in divorce in your state, because there may be statutory items that you have to deal with. If you have children and you're facing a custody battle, you want to have an attorney that specializes in these areas. Because if you go to an attorney that maybe is a family friend, or you go to church with them, or they did your wills, they may not focus on divorce. And you cannot assume that attorneys are familiar with all areas of law, and in this case, family law. So my suggestion is seek out recommendation from other professionals like your CPA or your financial advisor, and only focus on attorneys that focus on the divorce and litigation.
And you know what? I want to leave time at the end for a way to get our folks to get a hold of you, because I'm sure, as I do, that you also have a great list of attorneys that specialize in divorce, so we both can be a resource for them should anybody want to get a hold of us. And I'll make that offer. I can't speak for you, but if that's something they needed, would that be a resource you could provide as well?
Certainly. At the very least, I can go into a great bit more detail on how to choose an attorney.
Oh, nice.
Avoided some questions to ask. So at the very least, if I don't have a resource in their geographic area, I can help streamline that process.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, you're such a doll. Well, we're going to take a quick break, folks, and we will be back just momentarily. You're listening to wgsn-db-going-solo-network. Be back in a sec.
You're listening to wgsn-db-going-solo-network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Okay, we're back. You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo. We're talking to Will Parrish tonight, CDFA, Certified Financial Analyst, as well as many other designations. We're talking about his 10 Maxims tonight, and we left off with number 4. For those of you that are just tuning in, be sure to listen to the rebroadcast for the first 4. And Will, what's 5?
Okay, so most people don't realize you actually have a great deal of choice in a lot of the processes in divorce. And number 5 is, if at all possible, choose your judge. I would say most people don't realize that their attorney can have some influence most of the time in their choice of judge. And so it's very important in the first meeting. So you've gone through this short list of attorneys that specialize in divorce. In that first meeting, you want to find out how well they know the judges in your area that could possibly hear your case, and influence as much as you can the choice of judges that will hear your case should you go to litigation. And now, an addendum to that idea is your attorney should also know great mediators and how they will handle your case. So if you're going through a very contentious divorce, or if it's a very amicable divorce, your attorney should have a good feel for the choice of judge or choice of mediator.
You know, I myself did not even realize that. That is just a nugget of gold, Will. Good stuff. All right, so let's go on to number 6.
Number 6, get the right things right most of the time. And that's one of our maxims of doing business here at my firm in Knoxville. We want to focus on the right things and get them right most of the time. And what that means is a lot of times in divorce, things get very personal. No surprise there, right?
Right.
And so it's very easy for one spouse or the other or both to say, well, like, he or she said this or did this to me and I want payback. Well, in most cases, when we get right down to the nuts and bolts of a divorce, what one spouse did to the other really doesn't matter. And so what I want to encourage folks to do is focus on the right things. And in this case, let's focus on the outcome. Let's not focus on getting revenge or getting back. Let's focus on getting the most healthy outcome, the best outcome for you. And this might be tough to swallow, but maybe a win-win if possible.
I love that. So what you're saying is as much as you're able to during the process is to focus on the good outcome and not the negative emotion.
Yes, ma'am. If we can focus on what's the outcome, where am I headed, and remember there's a life after this, then I think that's one of the best opportunities to come through the process of divorce in a healthy way.
Love it. All right, number 7 is what marriage is about and what divorce is about. So tell us.
Yeah, many listeners may have heard this one. Marriage is about love. Divorce is about money. And like I said earlier, I don't think anyone gets married planning to get divorced, even with those prenuptial agreements. You know, when we get married, It's because we've fallen in love with a person and we have these dreams about a great life we're going to share.
Sure.
And so that's marriage. Divorce, when I say divorce is about money, it's time to focus on just the facts. Let's get down to business. Let's try to leave the emotion out of it, and let's seek the most healthy outcome possible for both people. And then let's deal with the emotions and the pain and the agony afterwards. I know that sounds very difficult, and I have to confess, I came nowhere near getting this one right. My divorce was extremely emotional and painful. However, the thing I learned through that process is if a person can focus on just the facts, focus on assets, liabilities, money, and focus on getting the best outcome for themselves and doing the best they can to make it good for both parties, you'll come out more healthy, and you'll come out prepared to walk a path forward, and you'll come out prepared to see that there is a future after this.
Well, and I love what you said, that you learned the right way to do it through your own experiences and how you tripped up and made mistakes, and so did I. And I love the fact that we both share out of our experience to help others to perhaps just do it a little bit better, and it's for their benefit, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So the focus is finding a path forward.
I love it. All right, what's number 8, Will?
Number 8, I got to use a little bit of off-color language here, but I think the audience can handle it.
I do,
Number
too.
8, nobody gets screwed. It's just that nobody wins. You know, it's funny. Virtually 100% of the divorce cases I've dealt with, at least one spouse will say, I got screwed, I lost. Or in a few cases, I've had a few spouses say, man, I really got one over on them. The bottom line is nobody wins. Nobody gets screwed. It's just that nobody wins. You know, a spouse might feel like they won, but the fact of the matter is divorce is ultimately a negative event, and there is no winning. So the survival tip there is, you might have an idea of what winning looks like, and that may be the best outcome for you. But the bottom line is if you come anywhere near your idea of winning, you probably did okay. Just remember, you didn't win, but neither did your ex.
So the focus should be just on trying to make it as fair and equitable as possible for everybody involved, and to focus on that. Would that be a good statement?
Yes, ma'am. And when you come out on the other side, if you can tell yourself, I'm not going to come out of this feeling like I've won something. I don't think anyone comes out of a divorce really feeling like they won something. But if you can come out with a fair and equitable settlement, well, then you probably did the best a person could.
So true. All right, number 9 is a subject that I love to talk about, and I love, Will, that you're including it in your Maxims. So what is number 9?
Stop blaming anyone, including yourself. Your marriage is over, so get down to business. And so the divorce process is just fraught with blame. I can blame a spouse's bad behavior. I can blame my bad behavior. I can blame myself for not being as present as a spouse. I can blame my ex for any number of things. It's just so unhealthy. Instead of focusing on blame, focus on responsibility. And at the end of the day, there's 2 people in a marriage, and no matter what the circumstances are, they're both responsible, at least to a degree.
And let me ask you something. That this is so good, Will. When you say take responsibility, who is the only one that you can take responsibility for?
As far as I know, it's yourself.
So true. So if you are blaming yourself and your failures, then you could turn it on its head instead of getting into that negative energy take responsibility for it, figure out a way how you can be a better person, and then move on. Is that right?
Absolutely. Completely congruent with the idea of what's my path forward. So if a person finds themselves in a situation where no reasonable person would say the end of their marriage is not their fault. So let's say a person's in a situation where it's absolutely true. I destroyed my marriage. I did something wrong. There's still a way to say, you know what, I'm going to take responsibility for this. I'm not going to beat myself up, and I'm going to find the best path forward. And the same works in reverse. If a person could say you're 100% innocent of any wrongdoing, there's still responsibility there. And the most healthy approach to getting through the entire process is to accept responsibility and move forward.
Great attitude to take. All right, number 10 is a great maxim, and you talk about what the maxim is, and then you make a comment, and that is baloney. So tell us what's number 10.
Number 10, the best divorce is still difficult. There is no nice divorce. And that comes from the very small segment of people I've met over the years that say, or they either say, oh, my divorce was easy, or it was nice, or I know someone that had such an easy divorce. And that's where, that's my academic term for that is baloney. Even in those divorces where it seems like everything went easy and it went very smoothly, it's still the end of a marriage, and it still takes tolls. And I can prove it simply by this. The last person that told me, oh, my divorce was easy, was talking about a divorce that had happened 25 years prior. If your divorce was easy and had no impact on you, why are you still talking about it 25 years later?
So true.
Set realistic expectations for yourself. If you know going through the process and coming out that this is not going to be easy, it is going to have a lasting impact on you. Even if it's a good thing, there will be sadness, there will be some joy, but don't go through the process fooling yourself into thinking this is going to be easy. Divorce is just never easy.
It's just built into the process, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Will, I first of all want to just thank you. These were such rich tips and maxims and advice, because it involved the reality of the situation. It involves some practical advice that we all need to hear if we're thinking about it or going through it or even towards the end of it, to give us all a reality check. So, Will, before we go, please tell us how, if folks would love to reach out to you, and I really encourage that you do so if you find yourself even in the thinking stages of this also difficult process. Will, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
The most effective way to contact me is through email. And I welcome contacts from folks. I have a heart for folks that are going through divorce. I love to help people out. And so the best way to get a hold of me is just shoot out an email if you have a question. And my email is Will, that's WILL, at S as in Sam, D as in David, P as in Paul, -planning.com. So that's Will at SDP-planning.com.
That's wonderful, Will. I do want to thank you so very much. I can just energetically feel listeners out there that have benefited from this. And I know that you do have such a great heart for helping these folks get through the process in the most win-win balanced way as possible. Not that it's gonna not be difficult, but that you will be there to hold their hand. And that's why I reached out to you, because we have like hearts and like minds. You're such a giving soul. So I want to thank you so very much. Folks, you've been listening to WGSN-db-going-solo-network. Thank you for listening in tonight. talk to you next week.